Hi there, and welcome to This Day in History for April 22nd. April 22nd is the 112th day of the year in the Gregorian calendar, 113th in leap years, with 253 days remaining to the end of the year. April 22nd is also Earth Day, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes. Today's word is perplexed. Perplexed is an adjective that means filled with uncertainty, puzzled, full of difficulty. Synonyms for perplexed include baffled, confounded, or hard-pressed. The origin of this word itself is somewhat perplexing. It appears to have come to us from late Middle English, Latin before that. First known use of the word perplexed is in the 1400s. Perplexed. And with that, on April 22, 1864, the United States Congress passed the Coinage Act of 1864 that permitted the inscription, "In God We Trust," to be placed on all coins minted as United States currency. In American professional baseball, you've got your National League and your American League. The National League was founded in February of 1876, and the American League in January of 1901. Incidentally, once the American League was formed, they were considered the Junior League as compared to the National League, since the National League was formed first. There were some other reasons too, but suffice to say that there was a bit of rivalry between the two leagues over this junior-senior business for several years after the American League was formed. Eventually, they came to an agreement that the American League is in fact a professional league as well, dropped the junior-senior appellations, and at the current time, both leagues currently have 15 teams. I mention this today because the first National League baseball game was played at the Jefferson Street grounds in Philadelphia on April 22, 1876. Now, if you've been watching me for a while, you may have heard me mention that I live in Fort Worth, Texas now, but I was raised in Oklahoma City, so I have to mention that on April 22, 1889, the land rush of 1889 took place in Oklahoma. They'd opened up the unassigned areas of several counties in the approximate middle of Oklahoma: Canadian County, Cleveland County, Kingfisher County, Logan County, Oklahoma County, and Payne County. An estimated 50,000 people lined up at the starting line and took off at noon to stake their claims. As a side note, if you've ever heard the term boomers or Sooners in relation to Oklahomans, the boomers were the people who had agitated for this type of opening up the settlement in Oklahoma, so called because of the loudness of their demands. I guess the squeaky wheel gets the oil, and they were squeaking pretty loud. As the time for the land run drew near, some people snuck onto the land illegally, found the spot they wanted, and hid out until it was legal to stake their claim. These folks were called Sooners because they went sooner than everybody else. Veterans of that land run came to be called 89ers because it was in 1889. So you've got your boomers, your Sooners, and your 89ers. There were several more land runs in Oklahoma after this, but this one was the first and the most famous one, and it took place on April 22, 1889. And since I grew up hearing about the Oklahoma Land Run every year of my life, when Earth Day came around on April 22, 1970, I had it somehow in my mind that it had something to do with 89er Day. But no, it's a completely separate thing. Earth Day was proposed by peace activist John McConnell to be a day to honor the earth and the concept of peace. He first suggested March 21, 1970, which will have been the first day of spring in the Northern Hemisphere that year, and designed a lovely flag with the blue marble of Earth on it. Planning began, and as events built by a committee often take longer than one would prefer, the idea evolved to include participation by some 20 million people that first year, with organizational and financial support of the United Auto Workers Union. Earth Day is still observed annually, and this is the day, April 22nd. Today's song is "The First Time Ever I Saw Your Face" by Roberta Flack. This lovely song was actually written in 1957 by British political singer-songwriter Ewan MacColl for Peggy Seeger. There are variations as to exactly why he wrote that song for her, so we'll leave it at that, but it did prove to be a popular song among artists and was recorded by over a half dozen musical artists before Roberta Flack sang it in 1969. Interesting story about this one. If you've ever seen the Clint Eastwood movie Play Misty for Me, you may remember hearing this song in that movie. The story goes that the song had been released. Clint Eastwood was driving down the LA freeway when he heard it on the radio. He called Ms. Flack on the phone and said he was making a movie about a disc jockey and wanted to know if he could use her song in that movie. She said yes, but she wanted to record it again as she felt it was too slow. He said, "No, it's not." The First Time Ever I Saw Your Face was released the first time on her album First Take in 1969, and then as a single in March of 1972 when Mr. Eastwood put it in the movie, and oh baby did it take off. It hit number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100, where we find it on April 22, 1972, beginning the second of 6 weeks in that number 1 spot. First Time Ever I Saw Your Face by Roberta Flack. Link in the description. And I think that's going to do it for us today. Thank you so much for watching. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. Feel free to share this video with a link in your email, messaging, or social media. If you enjoyed this series, you can check out the playlist that contains these videos. I'll put a link to that in the description. That description lives on YouTube, so for other platforms, I'll include a link to my blog page that's called No Really. You can also find me on Rumble, Parler, BitChute, and Getter. All those links in the description. Alrighty, that's all I can think of right now. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time. Do not disturb.
Okay, I turned Do Not Disturb on.
Good job. Third time better be a charm. Did I say 19th? It's not the 19th yet. One more time. Attracting. Just read the whole thing over. Are you making some sound? Get on out of here. And we're gonna edit that out. Don't alienate people who can be helpful to you. Flinging happiness all over the place. Alrighty, back to work. I think we got it this time.